myself.
I think I said 435. It says 3:45.
It says 4:45.
We're late. Anyway, no, that's executive.
You said 4:36.
4:35, that's correct. Okay. The study session of the Aurora City Council for Monday, December 15, 2025 is called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman,
Here. Here. What is this echo?
Councilmember Andrews,
Here.
Councilmember Bergen,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Coombs,
Present.
Big yes.
everybody make sure to mute your laptop in here.
If anybody's joined the meeting digitally, make sure your microphone is off. That's why this feedback is coming. Thank you.
Councilmember Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Hancock,
Councilmember Hancock?
We muted the room.
Councilmember Hancock.
Here.
No, it's good. Councilmember Horton,
Here.
Councilmember Jackson. Here. Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Wiles.
Here.
Okay, there's no mayor updates. Are there any issue updates? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, can I just request from City Manager Batchelor an update on the public engagement regarding the AI facial recognition technology?
Yes, Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem Coombs had reached out, and so we relayed that she would like to see some, more outreach from the department. So the department has scheduled 3 different hybrid meetings, so both virtual and in person if folks want to provide feedback and concerns if they have them on that. We will consolidate all of that feedback and then provide written feedback to that. We'll make that all available on the website. And so that's how we're going to do that. We'll, once we get that all documented up, we'll provide it to council as well.
Sorry, follow-up question. Is there still a plan to have information on Engage Aurora, including any slides from the presentations and opportunities for people to provide feedback there?
Yes, we will make that available on the web and then also provide for folks to provide feedback asynchronously. So if they're not at a meeting, they can give us feedback somehow as well.
I think, as City Manager, I think people, individual members can have presentations at their town meeting as well.
They absolutely can, sir.
I plan to.
And Mayor, just one other thing. And so I know there was already kind of a procurement process, but I just wanted to clarify whether we've actually signed contracts with those vendors at this point, or we're waiting until
I think we
the
have, but
public
I can confirm that.
comment
I think the contracts are signed, but I don't think we've gone live with it yet, but I can check those dates.
process. Okay, thank you.
Further issue updates? Seeing none, the next question is the adoption or the consent calendar. Item number 2A through 2J. Is there any opposition to moving the consent calendar forward? Item number 2A through 2J. Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, I just had a question on, look here. It's the one that just changed their name, the Three Birds Alliance.
2H.
2H.
Okay.
Okay.
Can staff answer that?
You want to pull the item, or
I'm
do you
pulling
just
it
have
for.
a question, or you want to do a full presentation?
Oh, no, I have a question.
Okay.
That's all. And I'm familiar with when it was Gateway, obviously, and I believe we did not fund them in our last funding. Is that correct?
We've consistently funded them through this process.
Or did we just not fund them to the amount they wanted? Was that?
Very possible, yes, that we did. We usually have about double the ask from what we are able to provide. but they are family sheltering, so they fall into this category of our homelessness funding.
And so and it's domestic violence?
Correct.
Okay, so they're similar to the family tree, correct? Family tree goals? They do domestic violence?
Similar, family tree is more just family sheltering than domestic violence. They're not considered a domestic violence shelter.
Oh, okay, I thought they were. So I looked up both organizations and their financials, and Family Tree has excellent financials, very delineated. You can look up every record. Three Birds does not have, in fact, there's a clause on there that, like an audit was done, that they are not in compliance with their financial records. A lot of missing information. It has, for example, $1.1 million in salaries, but yet the only salary you see is $137,000 for the executive director. So where's the rest of the money in salaries? So I guess my question is, can we find out why their financials are not adequate? And are we funding someone that is a red flag?
Okay, we can certainly follow up. Part of our application process is having access to their financial audits and things like that. And then we're recommending funding this year based on the performance of previous years. And their performance has been good and adequate, not the best, but good. But we can certainly ask that. Or we can pull that one, ask questions, and bring it back at a later time and go through with the rest of them tonight.
And we're only funding, what, 100,000 something?
Yes. So for Three Birds, we are recommending funding for $150,000, which is under what their ask
Yeah,
was.
so I'm fine with the funding. I just really would like us to investigate a little bit more on the financials. And also in performance metrics that we get from all of them. I think this might have come up last time, is like how many people do they actually serve that are Aurora residents?
Have all of that.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Is that, I don't know if it's a regulatory requirement, but isn't it generally just the executive director's salary specifically is reported?
So for nonprofits, they only have to report anyone who makes over $100,000
Okay, that's what it was.
onto their taxes. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Okay,
Well, interesting,
Councilmember
because they don't have very many employees, but yet there's $1.1 million in salaries.
okay.
So, kind of strange.
You don't want to hold it up, okay, very well. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Somebody's at 99.
So just on that, they only provide emergency sheltering to domestic violence victims and their families, or any families?
Just domestic violence related. They also do therapy and other things as well. But yeah, we're funding them for their emergency shelter.
So, and Family Tree Goals is not an emergency shelter. Do we have any emergency family shelter that we're referring folks to?
So Family Tree is sort of a hybrid, but it is not a walk-in shelter. So no, we are not funding anyone that would be a walk-in shelter, and that's difficult with families as well. We're also funding Aurora Housing Authority, which provides services to families.
But Comitas is taking people, are they not?
They are taking people.
Families.
And we did not recommend funding for that this year based on the performance. They haven't submitted what they needed to for this year, and then the category they applied for this year, they were not eligible for either.
Further questions or comments?
Just
Okay.
Mayor, sorry, to clarify, so we are referring people there, or is there anywhere else we're referring people for emergency family sheltering services?
Also through Salvation Army and their family system as well.
Further questions or comments? Is there any objection to moving the consent calendar forward, item number 2A through 2J? Seeing none, that consent calendar will move forward. Item number 3A, 2025-2026 Snow and Ice Control Plan. Kurt Muschlemeyer, did I say it right? I think I butchered it. Close enough for government work? Okay, please proceed.
So on a degree where it was almost, a day was almost 70 degrees in December, we're now going to talk about snow and ice removal.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is at the forefront of everyone's mind right now when it's 60 degrees outside, right? Let me go back here a little bit. So, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Council. I'm Kurt Muehlmeyer, Director of Public Works. Be doing just a brief presentation this evening on the city's snow and ice plan. So, I want to mention that this is the agenda. We'll talk about a 24-25 snow summary, 25-26 plan, residential snow plowing plan, and then the weather forecasting tools we use, and then happy to take any questions from council. So just a reminder that the goal of Public Works during a snowstorm is to ensure that our emergency services, so fire, police, EMS, remain functional during snow events. We make our staffing decisions based on the type of storm. That includes the equipment. It's all dependent, so pretty right, common sense stuff, right? More snow equals more resources. So categories of storms, so we categorize them by the type, by the amount of snow that we're getting. So trace to 2 inches, we'd consider that a category 1. You might hear me say Cat 1 or Cat 2. Really the difference between category 1 and category 2 is plowing. When we have to plow snow, it requires more resources. If we can just use our de-icing materials to melt, it requires less. So we get into, a trace to 2 inches, we can use materials to melt that. Category 2 and above, we're plowing snow. Category 3, 6 to 12, and Category 4 is kind of snowmageddon, if you will, when we're having lots and lots of snow. And you can kind of see some of the historic data that is there. About 80% of the storms we get are Category 1 or Category 2. So I'd like to show this picture too. Obviously, this is a major snow event. This is definitely a Category 3 or above. Our crews are out there moving a lot of snow in traffic. And this slide's also a good reminder, the public, we need their assistance to help us by giving our plows room to work so that they can do what they need to do. So we have prioritized the streets in Aurora. So priority 1, those are going to be your primary arterial roadways, Chambers, Alameda, those kind of roads. Priority 2 would be our blues. Those are collectors, roads around schools and hospitals. Priority 3 would be neighborhood collectors and through streets, and then priority 4 would be the outlying rural roads. So just as I said, I mean, these areas run across all wards throughout the city, and if you see the map, I know it's probably hard to see on the screen there, but they're categorized just at red, blue, green, right? Those are how our operators are looking at the maps and servicing roadways based on priority. So we have, if you look in the upper left-hand corner there, that truck indicates most of the equipment we have, not all of it, but it is essentially capable of deploying granular and liquid de-icer, and we use a combination of two. Not one material is good for all circumstances, right? We have to use the granular stuff in certain occasions and the liquid stuff in some occasions, and we have a pretty good stockpile of both to use, and sometimes we use them both together. So,
Question.
Yes, sir.
So on the granular, are we talking sand?
So there is no sand in that. So
Okay.
The product that we use is primarily called Ice Slicer. That's a proprietary name. It is 100% salt.
Okay.
It comes from a mine in Redmond, Utah, and it has some minerals in it to give it that orange color. But gravel has been phased out for 20 years or so due to air quality issues.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, because that's where they kind of grind it up. Where they grind it up, it goes out, goes into the air.
Correct.
And then people with respiratory problems, it complicates that. But you're saying that this doesn't do that.
Correct, yeah. So once we put down the de-icing, the granular materials, it gets wet, it melts ice, it's gone. It runs into the stormwater system and it runs
Okay.
away, it's not there anymore. So we have the ability to deploy 90 pieces of equipment. It sounds like a lot, but Aurora is a big place. 60 of those 90 would be snowplows, and then the other 30 pieces would be front-end loaders, motor graders, snow blowers, etc. So just the priority red, blue, green, and yellows are just under 1,600 lane miles. And if just for a point of reference, right, 1,600 lane miles would be enough to make a 2-lane road from here to Wentzville, Missouri. That's how much area we have to service when it snows. And that's why we need 90 pieces of snow equipment in some instances. I've never been to Wentzville, but probably nice. Just to clarify as well, so streets and public works in general only has staffing to staff a Category 1 storm. If we get into a Category 2 and above, we need our sister departments' help. Those would be PROS or Parks, Recreation, Open Space, PROS, and Aurora Water. We need them to supplement our operations so that we can staff all of our vehicles. So Streets Division staffing is limited, as I mentioned. We rely on outside resources. Sidewalk snow removal is not part of our snow and ice control plan, right? And per city code, that the responsibility to clear sidewalks is on adjacent property owners. A caveat to that is when we get into a Category 3, Category 4 storm, space is limited for us to move snow. When we're plowing snow, we're moving snow from the middle to the side. Sometimes that goes on sidewalks. If we put snow on sidewalks, we will remove it. So talking about getting into residential areas, we do ice cutting. Ice cutting is not a common service that's offered by a lot of cities around us. We do it as a service, and knowing that ice forming on roadways presents hazards, roadway hazards, pedestrian hazards. So we will typically go out after a snowstorm. These are areas that are north-facing or shaded during the daytime, and we'll go out and remove ice mechanically with one of the pieces of equipment you see in that picture right there. We do have some trouble spots that we know about, and we patrol on a regular basis. And all of this work is completed during regular hours. We do not do this on overtime. So just a kind of comparison, we use Access Aurora to take in these requests and then dispatch staff. And in 21 and 23, we had a total of 3,460 ice cutting requests. We responded to each one of those. So into the residentials a little bit more. So if everybody was around in 2019, you remember we had an event called the Bomb Cyclone, right? And that kind of caused us to take a look at what options we have to offer residential areas, specifically special districts, HOAs, and whatnot. So we explored a pilot program with the Blackstone neighborhood. It was a successful program, and we've now implemented, thanks to Councilmember Bergen, a process where special districts, HOAs, can enter into an IGA with the city to perform their own snow removal within their areas. And currently we have three areas, so those would be Blackstone, Forest Trace, and South Shore, correct.
Okay, just a question on that. You're talking about interior streets within a residential area.
Correct, Mayor.
But when you have a lot of snow, then I think the problem is then you're potentially pushing it up against vehicles that are parked by the sidewalk. And so sometimes what do you do about that? And then they can't get out.
So within these agreements, they're required to remove the snow, right? They're not required they can move it temporarily, but eventually they're required to remove the snow from the roadways and take it off-site to a place that they designate within the IGA.
But you're highlighting I think the mayor's highlighting the issue with, we often get the question, why don't we do residential
Correct.
snow removal? And I think the mayor's highlighting the main challenge there, which is
Absolutely.
folks are parking there. It is a challenge if our approach in this and allowing metro districts to do it is like, you want to do it, good luck. But it is a challenge, Mayor, because I think in the past, typically what we've done is in a really large Category 3 or 4 storm, we eventually will get into plowing residential streets. And because we've got to get a ways out, typically by then the streets are pretty rutted. And then with that come a raft of complaints that we didn't do it enough, we boxed somebody's car in.
Exactly.
It is a challenge because of just the built nature of the residential area.
Correct. It's been my experience that when you plow residential roadways, you make half the people happy and you make half the people angry.
Councilmember
It's
Bergen.
never a win-win.
Yeah, I just want to add on, when we came up with the resolution and staff took a lot of time to make sure that the agreements that these homeowner associations or metro district ones that if they signed, provided us with liability, insurance, so forth, and also even the equipment that they use has to meet our standards.
Yep.
My question is, when do we notify them that they, because I live in Towns Region, I don't know why mine hasn't signed up for this. So when do the notices go out to let them know, hey, it's available, you can, I think October, right?
We do send out notices starting October, yeah.
And we sent them out this year?
I believe so. Did we send them out this year? We have not sent them out yet, but we certainly can.
We sent them out per your request, Councilmember Bergen, last year. We did not send them out this year. We've only had one other district that had an inquiry. I sent them the application, and they failed to fill it out. So we still only have the 3.
I think one of the misunderstandings from some of the metro districts and the homeowner associations is that they think that if they sign up with this agreement that they have to plow, and all it does is allow them to decide their own, if they're going to plow, if they're 6 inches, 3 inches, a foot, they determine when they want to actually call the contractor.
Correct.
So I think there's a misunderstanding with those organizations that once they sign that they're obligated to do it, and it's literally just says you can.
One clarification to that, Councilmember Bergen, is that we did have one metro district that wanted to only put down de-icing materials.
Oh.
And they did not want to provide snow dump areas within the subdivision. And so they just wanted to basically let that material sit there, and that creates extra street sweeping and what have you. So they do need to follow the full
Yes.
template as you stated,
Right.
Which mimics our snow and ice control plan.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just?
Councilmember Lawson.
Okay, Kurt, I want to get a clarification
Sure.
because you guys have gotten council request from me on this. So Smoky Hill going south in my ward, Ward 5, you guys, that's a main street. And
Correct.
a lot of the snow gets on those sidewalks, and there are bus stations, like a bus shelters over there. So are you telling me, and you're going to tell my residents as well, that you guys are not going to do anything about that until
It melts.
they get notified or I make a complaint about it? Because to me, that is the city. That is not a lot of we have HOAs over there, but a lot of that is not our responsibility, and it is the ICE people that put that up there, and then it's not a lot of light, it gets not a lot of sunlight. So what it does, it just refreezes.
Sure.
And then people who there is a bus stop over there, so, I mean, it's been a problem ever since I live over there. It's been a problem ever since I've lived over there, and I always do council request on this, and I get the same answer over and over and over. It's not our responsibility. I don't understand that.
So I'm not specifically sure where you're talking about on Smoky Hill, but if it is a city sidewalk, right, we would have to partner with.
Near Racquetball Court, Crown Point, Cherry Creek Racquet, all the way up on that, going south.
And it's not adjacent to a property owner, it is city
adjacent
sidewalk.
to the wall of Cherry Creek Racquetball.
But I'm talking about even going beyond that, all the way up to Smoky Hill to the Chambers.
So we can look into that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and it could
And then on the
be,
other side is a bus stop.
it's possible
bus shelter.
that by code, a property owner or somebody in a metro district is responsible for that. I can't say specifically right at this
Well,
moment.
I'll be writing you about that
Okay,
because that is
yeah.
something that.
Please, and I'm happy to look into those type of issues and try and, whether it's our issue, a pros issue, or a code issue, get to the
Okay.
bottom of it and get a plan moving
Okay,
forward.
well, I'll write you about that. then.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, please proceed.
So the process that we have lined out for HOAs and special districts, it's a very prescriptive process that we have. There's an application they go through. They have to complete a template. City Attorney's Office reviews it, and then we go back and have review it, and then it has an expedited process through council to get approved and put in place. So speaking of weather forecasting, all of these on the screen right here are the tools that we use to try and predict weather. I would say most of the time these are pretty aligned, but there are times when we get differing forecasts from these. I don't know if anybody remembers last year, but I think we did get a forecast that was anywhere from a ½ inch to 12 inches, right? And that's pretty difficult for us to navigate and staff, but we always try and be conservative, right? We try and plan for the worst and hope for the best. So you might laugh at the Farmer's Almanac outlook right now because it predicted very cold and snowy, and I don't think that's come to fruition. I mean, we still have a lot of winter left to go, but more to come. So this is a La Nina year, and it looks like we're probably trending drier and warmer versus kind of what they were predicting back in October, November. And then we could always rely on the most accurate weather forecaster that we have. Mr. Punxsutawney Phil. And then more of the NOAA seasonal outlook, right? It's still looking like, there are chances, equal chances for temperatures being seasonal and seasonal precipitation. Obviously, it hasn't come to fruition so far this year. So just want to take a quick second here. So all of the pictures in this, these are the winners of our annual snow rodeo, if you've seen that, right? All of these individuals here are the best of the best that the city has to offer, right? And so we highlight them here. There's a picture of the award ceremony where they got their trophies. They went on to compete at a regional event for us in October of this year. Yeah, that's the end of my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that
Further
Councilman-
questions?
I
Councilmember
wonder
Murray.
about the contest. So what, they had to go plow snow?
So no, we have every year we have a snow rodeo. It's a kind of an obstacle course. It's a dry course. We use cones to mimic snow, and they have to navigate a very challenging course in a very large vehicle. And so you get points, and then the most points ends up going to a regional competition.
Right. Yay, Aurora.
No, I just want to say I'm very proud of the crews that do this work. The same people that do the asphalt repair, pothole repair stuff in the summer, in the spring, summer, I guess in early fall. But very dedicated people, and I go out with them occasionally. Any further questions or comments? If not, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Retail strategy. Francois Bergen, Councilmember Francois Bergen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to, staff, of course, is going to do the presentation, but been working with staff actually for several years on retail strategy and looking at how we can really address some of the issues in our city. I'm really excited about what is going to be presented to you because the staff has worked extremely hard on taking basically phase one of the retail strategy when they met with each council member from each ward to identify their needs and to go over all the demographics and to identify vacant spaces and so forth. With all that data, we're now at the point that we need to look at what do we do with that data and how do we help these shopping centers that maybe have fallen into a little bit of disrepair and need some love. Some of them are not looking too good. Also vacant spaces and how we can incentivize them to bring something that would be good for the city, whether it be a restaurant, a retail store, an entertainment venue. So all those saying, basically with the saying that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Janine Rusted, and very excited. The resolution, just real quick, the resolution that kind of accompanies this is basically for us as a city to get experts together, technical experts that can guide us. So we have already some incentives that we've used in the past and some new ones that we're considering, but we really want to get some guidance from developers, from commercial brokers, from real estate people that know the market, because maybe we're a little bit off course and we want to make sure that we have that right information before we move forward with those incentives. So thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Again, Janine Rustad, your Director of Planning and Business Development. The presentation this evening, and I will apologize for those of you that are just getting to know me. I am a former East Coast attorney, so I talk real fast. Feel free to jump in and ask questions. We're going to give you an overview of the strategy, an overview of existing retail incentive tools, and then some that we are developing and our next steps. So city role in retail. There's things we can and cannot do. You have these outlined. They're in the framework that was in your backup, but I want to stress what we can't do. We cannot act as a broker. So while we can be a matchmaker, for instance, from ICSC, we learn of investors that are looking for value add centers. We make those introductions. When we know that a certain business is looking and we are the right town for them, we make the introductions that we know we have a vacancy, say Southlands, easy to pick on that one. We do that matchmaking. But we also have that important role of offering incentives and making sure we're taking care of the public realm. The team has come up with these retail center health indicators, and these are tried and true. They are best practices. We look at price per square foot. that we're bringing in. The occupancy rates, that one's kind of obvious. When you see a lot of vacancy, that's a center that probably isn't doing so well. Center appearance, when you have the good tenants, you have the management that's keeping up with upkeep versus when you have a lot of vacancies, you're not getting in the rents, you're not taking care of the center, and it's this spiral effect. The retail mix, and we have retail mix here, and thanks to Councilmember Gardner, when you get into what will be the full retail strategy, we talk about the tenant mix. Because with big box going out, they are going out of business faster than any of them are being refilled. What we're seeing is usually those spaces are demised, meaning you might get 2 or 3 tenants where there was one. Entertainment is a really important factor here because that gets the foot traffic we want to see. Gets into tenant mix and then anchor tenant. When you have the primary centers, which I'll get into, you want a strong anchor. Nordstrom Rack is a perfect example of that. So we have 4 types of centers we see in the city. Primary centers, these are the ones with strong anchor tenants. They're in great condition. They have low vacancies. They're bringing in good money for the city. We then have shadow areas, and these may not have their own anchor tenant, but they're near a primary center or a standalone big box. Think where you have a standalone Home Depot and you might have a center nearby. These are important because if it's a primary center and you've got a King Super, they may have a covenant that that center can have no more grocery stores, no more food, certain food establishments. But maybe you have a shadow area where you can get a natural grocer or, fingers crossed, a Trader Joe's. Micro centers, these are similar to shadow areas, but they may not be in close proximity to a big box or a primary center. We see some of these in Ward 1 and then throughout the I'll say the older wards. Ward 2 is still developing, so we're still bringing in retail there. These tend to be niche locations with retail targeted for that community. Havana, which spans Ward 4 and 5, that's a great example where you have these niche centers that are targeted to the surrounding populations. And then secondary centers. This is what Councilmember Bergen alluded to, where there is a lot of vacancy. You may have a lot of service industries, a high concentration. They may be outdated. Some of them may need some TLC. Some of them may be ripe for complete redevelopment. So that's something we are analyzing throughout the city. Retail vitality. There's things that impact retail, some of which we control, some which we don't. Market and economic conditions, we don't have a lot of control over that other than grants and incentives. Property and site conditions, this is a private ownership responsibility. Consumer activity and tenant mix, this is hopefully where we can start to have more of a role playing that matchmaker, seeing what we can encourage. And then the public realm, that is very much in our wheelhouse, but it is still public-private partnerships. And ultimately, as we go through this engagement, what I want to come out with is a table of implementation tools that assigns the parties, because we can't do it all. The strategy goals. We are looking to strengthen and reactivate our existing centers. And I'll add to this, we have some centers that are doing tremendous, and we want to make sure we're staying on top of those, that we have the communications with the owners, the property managers, the tenants, so that we know early on that when Best Buy or Bed Bath & Beyond, that we know that they're going and we can help them stay on top of this. We want to help improve the appearance, safety, walkability of commercial areas. And safety is another one where we play an important role in that public-private partnership. Promoting balanced tenant mixes that increase convenience and community and identity. In the strategy and in previous presentations, I've quoted the National League of Cities, that these really are the heart of our communities. Retail isn't just about shopping, it's about where we gather, where we meet. So we want to make sure Aurora is the best it can be. And then we want to encourage frequent visits through coordinated events. And we don't just want the frequent visits of Aurora residents and workers. We want to capture the people that are adjacent to Ward 6, adjacent to Ward 2. So we're importing some of those tax dollars. Revitalizing the Aurora's retail centers. Now we are getting into each of these goals. We've identified pillars where we'll then work on our implementation tools. So we want to strengthen existing retail centers. Again, it's strengthen and also make sure that we are maintaining the strength of those that are doing well. We want to enable adaptive reuse and flexibility. So you're going to hear about the Downtown Development Authority. We want to make sure that we're making it easy to reuse buildings, or as easy and fast as possible. We want to work on business retention. This is from the national retailers to those small mom and pop businesses, everything in between. And then we want deployed, targeted, transparent incentive tools. We have the one retail incentive right now that I'll go over in a bit, but how do we expand that to have further reach and impact? So the existing retail incentive is for large-scale reinvestment, and this is for spaces over 10,000 square feet. It's tied to an anchor tenant. I've mentioned Nordstrom Rack several times. That is one that Councilmember Bergen brought to us, and we had success. But what we're finding is it is complicated for both the city and the retailer, and maybe we need to look at it. Instead of tying it to the whole center, we tie it to that space because retail, again, is changing. These are for 10 years. We just had our retail meeting, and 10 years is an important time frame because what we've been told by some of the property owners is they can take that to the bank, and instead of borrowing from their capital investors at a 12% interest, they can borrow from a bank at a 7 or 8% interest. These are examples. Another existing program is the restaurant program that was out of ARPA funds. We want to identify ways where we can expand this since ARPA has gone away, but we've had great success in all wards except for Ward 2. We were discussing an incentive with a restaurant, but we couldn't get there in time. And then the retail redevelopment, the new version of that was Nordstrom Rack and Lucky Strike. Prior to the new policy, we had a different incentive, predated me, I'm not as familiar, but we have used these. The most recent one coming to Ward 2 is the King Soopers. And with the announcement that King Soopers is coming to that area, there's 7 pad sites, so excluding the gas station that's King Soopers, I think we have 3 potential tenants leaving 3 spaces. So these incentives not only get the big person in, the small retail follows. So the toolkit we're looking at is revising that existing incentive to make it more user-friendly and more predictable for the property owners. One thing that we don't want to see is we give you an incentive on paper, but in reality, you're not benefiting from it. It doesn't give the city a good image. So we want to make sure we are giving the benefit that is bargained for. But then we want to look at how do we expand these to smaller centers. A lot of the centers in Aurora have spaces that are under 10,000 square feet. As I mentioned, big box retail is also going away, so maybe that's not the right size. So how do we look at that, the smaller centers? Smaller space activation. With some of these, in having the team meetings, we may want to get a sales tax producing tenant in, but these smaller centers may say, yeah, but I have the check cashing place that is paying rent. That's all I care about. How do we make them care with incentives? So we're talking about that. And this is where, in addition to having the larger steering groups, we also want to have focus groups where we can get down into the nitty-gritty with the impacted parties. And then retail safety and security. Mayor, you have been a champion of the retail forums we've done. We want to make sure we're partnering with the Business Advisory Board so that we're not just getting at hospitality, their issues, but at our retail issues to make sure we are creating safe environments where we'll all feel safe walking into them, walking around them, no matter the time of day. So moving into the appearance, safety, and walkability, the pillar of this is we want to improve that customer confidence and feeling of safety. And sometimes it's owning our narrative. When we go to ICSC, our big push right now is telling the story of Aurora, the real story, not the story you're going to get on the news, but really what a great city this is, why they want to be here. For Ward 2, I really want to push Ward 2. We've got King Soopers in. If you want to get in, now is the time to do it before you have a lot of retail and the rents go up. We want that balanced mix. And again, this is about retail. It's the right mix of retail, entertainment, and services. What's going to create that foot traffic? And one of the examples I've used with entertainment is the bouncy houses, or we were talking about, it's not Slide City, but Slick City. And someone explained to me that's marketing to teenagers. You'll get them to Slick City, but not Slide.
I went down the slide. In a dress.
But you drop your kids off or your grandkids off, and then you go to the neighborhood restaurant and have a beer or a snack while your kids are having fun. So we want to facilitate the communication and coordinators between all these parties. Again, our big part of our role is being that matchmaker. Important also is right-sizing retail. We have a lot of centers that have deteriorated, and the question is that still a good place for retail? We don't want to have so much retail that we're cannibalizing ourselves. We want to be able to bring in new and have the right amount in the right places. And then small businesses. One of the focuses our SBDC and our business advisors are going to have in 2026 is identifying in each ward businesses that are flourishing and they're ready to take that next step, whether it's an additional product line, a new store, expanding to a big store. How do we get them the financial advising and connect them with financiers to help them grow and stay in Aurora? Encouraging the frequent visits, our pillars here are promote our retail districts. We've got some great centers. Let's get the word out, not only at ICSC, trying to attract more people in, but to our own residents, to our neighboring jurisdictions, and then again, small businesses, giving them the support, and in addition to helping them grow, start and grow, hybrid. Retail has changed. I don't know about y'all, but I do most of my shopping online. Sometimes I shop online, and even for my groceries on the way home, go pick it up. Making sure making sure our small businesses are poised to keep up with the times and even get ahead. So our next steps. You have the approval of the retail strategy right now. What is in your backup is the framework. We will then do the stakeholder engagement. We have ward by ward drafted. We have both the fact sheets and then what are the focus areas. There are some common areas to focus on citywide, but there are some specifics to each ward. For example, Ward 2, we want to be attracting in new versus other wards we may want to be rehabilitating centers. So once we get that, we'll develop the implementation plan and bring that forward to council for adoption. That implementation plan and these pillars, the background of the retail strategy will stay static. That should be evergreen for 5, 6, 7 years. But implementation, we need to constantly be checking ourselves. The large retail incentive is an example of that. Is it working? Are we getting what we think we were going to get, or do we need to tweak something, change it? That is another role of government, is we need to be nimble in changing times. So the question for you, do you approve the resolution supporting the retail strategy and corresponding development of an implementation through stakeholder engagement?
Okay, well, just one. So, in the 1990s? In the 1990s, we have the advent of the internet. A lot of the older retail in the city was built prior to the 1990s to where the interpretation of their market were the neighborhoods around there. So in that area, we have a surplus of retail. And so we have a deficit of residential. So how do you merge those two together in terms of an incentive for more multifamily housing?
One thing we will be doing is looking at what might be ripe for redevelopment and potentially urban renewal. We have a few factors. We're working with our new urban renewal manager on that, Robin Fleischman, newish. And how do we start approaching those owners? Because right now, under our zoning, along arterials, where it used to be just commercial, we allow mixed use. So how do we get that where we feel it's warranted?
Okay. Further questions or comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
Just on the outreach piece, I know obviously there's coordination with the ward council members because they're representing those specific wards. We've been talking about having some at-large council meetings, town hall meetings, so if we can also get folks at those. And then now we also have at-large council members who live in 4 different wards. So if we could also, kind of weigh in and connect on our specific wards as well.
Whether it is retail strategy, urban renewal, small business, we are always happy to show up at your town halls, whether you're a ward or at large. That is what we're here for, and the more people we can reach, the better.
Okay. Further questions or comments, Councilmember Vargas?
Just a comment, kind of to your point about some of the centers and whether it needs to be housing, because some of those centers, if they've been vacant for a decade or so, the right solution might be, maybe we do need a mixed use in there. And if you then have, let's say you had housing go in, then that could actually then attract more retail or restaurants, whatever, because obviously rooftops matter.
And I think if we are able to get some urban renewal of these areas, taking the approach of what we're doing at the point of 9 Mile is having highest and best use data to help inform any RFPs or strategies moving forward in those areas.
Further questions or comments? Yes.
I'm curious, how is equity
Jason.
taken into account?
Again, it's looking at the city's role, what we can and can't do. We are going to be addressing a lot in one of our hardest hit wards with the DDA. How are we increasing safety? Bob Oliva, our retail senior project manager, was saying that with the work we've done in partnership with licensing on SEPTED, I forget what the whole...
Prevention through environmental design.
Thank you. Removing walls, barriers that the owner where the neighborhood Walmart used to be says where he used to see multiple drug deals in that parking lot, he could now be out there and feel safe. So how do we strike the balance of getting in redevelopment without displacing? It is the age-old planning challenge of how we do these economic development challenge. If we are able to develop grant programs, I think that's another way we could. But the fact that we're looking at taking what is now a retail incentive only for big box areas and bringing it to the smaller centers. I can tell you, too, that the executive director of the Aurora South Metro SBDC, her philosophy is equity isn't a separate thing they do, equity is in everything they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a follow-up, because like Nordstrom Rack, I don't shop there because I can't afford it. It wouldn't do well in Ward 1.
No.
And like, why are some of these places vacant in the first place?
So I think there's been a myriad of factors. We do know that in Ward 1 theft, I've learned a lot in the past 9 months directly overseeing retail theft. Their benchmark is 3% and below is what they expect. When you hit 4%, that's a red flag. And some of the retailers there were experiencing 7 to 8% theft. So we need to work with our retailers in partnership because we have a role, but they have some ownership too over providing security. But how do we work together in increasing safety? And once we've addressed that, let's have the incentives in place so that we can hopefully encourage more people to come. And when we go to ICSC, we try to highlight some of these areas. And we know who we're meeting with, and we're going to be on the floor more this year. So we're going to be going to other people's, the retailers' booth. Let me tell you about Aurora and why you want to be in Ward 1 or Ward 3. Yeah.
Further questions? Councilmember Lawson, and I'm afraid this is the last one, we're going to have to move
Yeah,
forward.
just a quick question. So can you just tell me with this new resolution about these centers, how much, what is going to be the percentage? Tell me how much when you guys will consider something to be blighted in urban renewal. Hamden and Chambers, multiple issues, continuous issues that I've addressed with city planning for many, 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 many years. It continues to deteriorate. You know what we're dealing with the food trucks. So when will that area be considered? What is going to be the thing for based on this retail strategy?
That's why we want to convene the experts. The experts are going to help us identify
Well,
that, right? So
the experts, can I just make a comment? The
From a
experts,
city perspective.
the experts have already, this has been an ongoing issue, Jason.
outside experts, sorry.
Well, again, it seems like that area, and I've talked to you guys over and over and over and over, even when Andrea was here, about that area, and it continues to deteriorate, and I still continue to get sidelined because I guess it's not one of the up-and-coming areas, but it needs to be addressed.
So good news is we have a tenant coming into one of those spaces, but we are starting with those factors of one of the early slides of health, but we're also looking at the number of ownerships. What you don't see with a lot of these centers is the main center might be owned by someone, and then you have 7 pad sites that are each individually owned. And we want to try and get everybody on board. So we are going to start having those conversations. We're partnering with the Aurora group to help start tackling and having the conversations because it isn't.
My residents are coming, and believe me, they are in protest. So
Okay.
be prepared for that in 2026.
All right, okay. Thank you great presentation. Thank you very much. Item number
Can we
7.
have-
We have an ask here, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I thought this was information only. Okay. Does council approve a resolution supporting the city's retail strategy and corresponding development of an implementation plan through stakeholder engagement? Is there any opposition to that direction? Seeing none, then that's the direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7B, proposed interview and appointment schedule for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Katie Rodriguez.
Mayor, we have item 7A, the 2026 City Council meeting calendar. This is for council to set the dates for council meetings and study sessions and workshops for 2026. If council approves to move this forward, you'll vote on it formally tonight. Does council have any concerns with the calendar that was provided to them?
Is there questions or comments? Is there any? What's that?
I'm trying to access my East Drive. It's being finicky.
I'm just looking at my calendar real quick here.
I did look, and I think I'm fine, but I want to double check.
I want to double check. It's December. I guess I can make the December 21st. It's not interfering with my holiday plans.
I just put it up.
Thank God.
As well.
Thanks, Katie. Katie, go ahead and put it up. Here it is. You can see it. Again, every 2 weeks, you'll see the workshops up there. You'll see most of the time we're trying to hit the second and fourth Monday of the month. There's a few months where we move it to the first and third. We start that in April so that we're able to continue that in May so that we avoid the holiday weekend in May. Then we go back to 2nd and 4th, June, July, August, September, October, November, and then December we move back to the 1st and 3rd
And then
to
all the
avoid the end of the year
conferences are
holidays.
accounted for.
And all the conferences and other things are up there. We cannot do 100% deconflict, but you see them up there.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, is there opposition to moving 7A forward? Then item, Councilmember Bergen.
We're approving the calendar, and my understanding over all the years is sometimes something happens like, in March, and we're like, oh my God, we forgot this was happening, and we have to make a calendar change. Is city attorney, it requires 2/3 or unanimous?
Requires 2/3. Or is it 2/3?
Okay, thank you.
It was unanimous, I thought. Okay. Yeah. We changed it. Okay. Further questions, comments? Any objection? Seeing none, thank you very much, Katie. Oh, you're up for the next one.
Staying up for the next one too. So the next one is the appointment on the planning and zoning. Katie gave you guys a calendar. I'll let her pull that up. We have 2 vacancies coming up on planning and zoning. We have one that would like to be reappointed, and then we have one that is not seeking reappointment. So you'll definitely have 1 vacancy. And then for you all tonight, do you want to do reappointment for the one, or do you want to move forward with trying to fill both vacancies and have that applicant
Who is it
apply?
again?
Who's the?
And so we have 2. We have planning and zoning, and then we have civil service. So we're going to be approving both of those tonight. I put it all together in one calendar for you to review. It's also in your backup. So tonight we're asking you if you want to move forward with the interview and appointment schedule that we have provided for planning and zoning. Melvin Bush, he's a current member who is seeking reappointment. So council can reappoint him or decide to interview individuals for that position as well. So planning and zoning have 2 vacancies coming up in December 31st. Civil service has 1 vacancy coming up February 14th, I believe, and that individual is not seeking reappointment.
Okay, Councilmember Bergen.
So you said 2 openings for planning,
Yes.
and 2 are asking for.
One person,
Oh,
Melvin Bush.
Just Melvin Bush is asking to be reappointed?
Yes.
And then I noticed there's an individual that has applied that has only lived here 1 month.
Yes, and so we did catch that, thanks to Councilmember Hancock, she let us know. There is one individual who applied, and we have it in your backup, so we will remove that for your consideration. Chuck Wabuki Agaki, he does not meet the 1-year residency requirement, so we'll remove him.
Further questions or comments? Motion is in order. Or not a motion, but direction.
Mayor?
I'm sorry, who is?
Hancock.
Councilmember Hancock.
Mayor Hancock.
Councilmember Hancock, yeah.
Yeah, I would like for us to interview for those positions. That would be my preferences. I don't know any of these folks, and I think it would be a great opportunity, again, as we have set precedent before, to interview people for these commissions, and so I would be open to doing that.
Okay, Councilmember Bergen.
I'm open to the schedule, the way you have it, Katie, with the interview, ranking first and then the interviews. I will say, and I don't know if you don't know Melvin Bush, Councilmember Hancock. He's been on the Planning Commission for a while, but he's also been very involved in other aspects of the city. He's done a really good job on the Planning Commission, so I don't know if we want to interview him again. I mean, just throwing that out.
And this is his 2nd term. just for
It's his 2nd term.
This will be his 3rd if you reappoint him.
Oh, it'll be his
Well,
3rd.
what about for the open position? Can we interview for that
Yes.
open position?
Yes.
I would be okay with that.
Okay, is there any objection for the Planning and Zoning Commission to interview for the open position?
And reappoint Mr. Bush.
And reappoint the incumbent, what's his name?
Mr. Melvin Bush.
Melvin Bush. Is there, okay, seeing no objection, then that's the direction there. And then what about civil service?
You have 1 vacancy. The incumbent is not seeking reappointment.
Barbara
So you have a
Shanahan,
yes.
yeah.
So you have 1 vacancy. So, and these are your 2 boards that have quasi-judicial power. So traditionally, council has interviewed for these positions, which is why Katie brought them forward to kind of lay this out for you. So I guess the question really is, any concerns with that time frame?
No. Is there any objection to the time frame? Then that's the direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Let's see, 7D, Downtown Development Authority, Laura Perry. Oh, we're pretty good now.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Laura Perry, Deputy City Manager. I'm here tonight and joined by Naomi Lacewell from Progressive Urban Management Associates to present to you on proposed next steps for the inaugural appointment of the Aurora Downtown Development Board. So just a quick recap of what a Downtown Development Authority is. It is a state statute-driven special district that's created by voters within a defined boundary. And those boundaries are governed by a council-appointed board and funded primarily through tax increment funding. And that funding allows the board to reinvest future increases in taxes generated within the boundary against a formal plan. A DDA is focused on redevelopment, infrastructure, and economic vitality. DDAs are a common tool used successfully across Colorado, including communities of various sizes and contexts. Another tool that's created to support various needs in communities are community development corporations, and these are nonprofit organizations created to support and revitalize communities. They deliver a wide variety of services, including business support, affordable housing, job training, and are governed by boards that include local residents and are funded through grants, donations, and other self-sustaining revenues to support their overall business plan. So how a DDA and a CDC can work together to support the work in East Colfax are primarily where a DDA can serve as that focal special district focused on safety, infrastructure, small business support, housing, and economic development within the district. And then a CDC can partner with the DDA and bring forward diversified funding sources and operate beyond the DDA boundaries in the realm of economic development, housing, and other social areas. This map represents the DDA boundary, and you'll see that the boundary extends from Yosemite Street on your left all the way over to Oswego on your right. And eligibility for board service and voting is tied directly to this boundary, and you'll hear that in a second. A CDC service area is much broader, can encompass a greater area beyond the DDA boundary, which is why that cross-pollination and partnership between both entities is key. On November 4th, voters within the proposed DDA boundaries approved two things. One, forming the actual Downtown Development Authority, and two, the ability to use tax increment financing under the state's TABOR or Taxpayer Bill of Rights. So essentially the ability to retain those revenues to expend on a plan of development, which I will talk about in a few minutes. Most important point here is that no action can occur by the DDA or on behalf of the DDA until the board is appointed and the plan of development is approved by City Council. So as I mentioned earlier, the DDA is governed by state statute, which sets clear requirements for board composition and eligibility. So at a high level, board members must be 18 or over and must be a business, resident, or property owner within the DDA. A representative can also be a manager, agent, or employee of a business within the DDA, but the majority of those members must live or own property within those district boundaries that I showed you earlier. One member of the board must be a council member, and no other city employee or elected official is allowed to serve. The members of the board are appointed by the mayor and city council, and that was constituted in the ordinance approved referring it to the ballot earlier this year. And board members cannot be paid. So unfortunately, we cannot give them a salary, but they can be reimbursed for travel expenses and other expenses like childcare for being able to participate. As part of this work, Puma facilitated a lot of engagement in the community to develop a draft Colfax Vision and Action Plan. And this plan essentially serves as that roadmap to revitalize East Colfax and support the surrounding area through various goals and recommendations for the next 10 to 20 years. This document will be reviewed by the newly appointed DDA board and then come forward to you all for approval. I'll talk about a little bit more about the council actions in a couple slides. The plan was formulated through extensive engagement with over 1,200 community inputs and over 2,400 website visits. There was multilingual outreach and meetings, and all of which goes to strengthen the recommendations in the draft plan. This slide summarizes the 6 goal areas that are included in the draft plan, spanning from public space, maintenance, housing stability, and of course, arts, culture, and creative economy, as this area also houses the city's arts district. So in reviewing a proposed inaugural board formation process over the last couple of years, several cities have had DDAs formed and have formed inaugural DDA boards. This slide summarizes the various processes that these cities have undertaken, and while these processes vary, best practices across all of them include transparent application processes that conform with the boards and commission processes for their respective cities, a public interview process, and formal council involvement. And the proposed inaugural board appointment process that you'll hear tonight draws from these examples. So our staff recommend aligning Aurora's existing boards and commissions process with the inaugural DDA appointment process. As I mentioned in the previous slide, this is best practice, where the city would provide for the opportunity for applicants to submit applications that would be reviewed for eligibility against state statute, and then go through a formal process before it comes forward to you all for approval. The recommendation, so currently within the ordinance, the DDA board members total 11. So the city can appoint up to 11 board members. And the recommendation is that council appoint 7 of the 11, one of the 7 being a council member, which leaves a total of 6 from the community. What this allows for is room to be able to appoint 2 members from the Community Development Corporation Board to allow for that cross-pollination and partnership between a CDC and a DDA. And the process to appoint those members would be determined in the future by the inaugural appointed board.
And then it also leaves you 2 seats, in case you're doing the math, so that as the board gets stood up, they can always come forward to say, hey, let's appoint those last 2, but it gives us a little bit of room to grow. We don't know what we don't know right now.
So this is a timeline for the proposed process. This kind of brings it all together. So the proposed process is opening applications up early January through the end of February. This will give the city time to develop and formalize applications, do translation. We want to make sure we're able to do extensive outreach to recruit as many interested parties as possible. As I mentioned earlier, the applications come in, they're reviewed for legal eligibility against the state statute, and then we are proposing a nomination committee conduct public interviews. And that would be in late February, early March. That would be comprised of the mayor, mayor pro tem, deputy city manager, myself, and advised by Progressive Urban Management Associates as our strategic advisor in ramping up the DDA board and CDC. Recognizing that public input from the community is a huge value and is super important in establishing this board successfully. It is recommended that public letters of nomination be received, public comment, and then with public interviews, allowing for folks to provide comments on candidates. Whether that's through Engage Aurora, we would need to establish the format by which those would be accepted.
Councilmember Bergen.
I have a question on the public nomination letters. How is that weighted? Because you could have one person get 100 letters submitted on their behalf, and then it looks like, oh, by popularity, that person gets, onto the board. So is there a way to make sure that we don't just have a popularity contest?
We can certainly structure this so that it's one put of many. So we'll have applications. We can limit one letter. We can determine from one person. So one person's not sending multiple letters. There's a way to structure that. But we certainly don't want to limit the ability for folks and the ability to receive multiple letters of support.
Do you expect, there's going to be one council member that's going to be appointed by the mayor, confirmed by the council on the board. Does that person go through, do the council members that are applying for it go through the same process as everybody else goes through, or is there separate?
We had not anticipated that council members would apply an interview, but that would be appointed by you all as part of the normal boards and commissions appointment processes.
Make that happen if you wanted to, but not
Correct.
required.
Yes, we're happy to, if that's a desire of you all, to do that.
Councilmember Horton.
I understand public nomination letters and comments. Is there an opportunity to also add in at least 3 references? I mean, these are individuals that are making extraordinarily decisions on lots of lives, businesses, and so having documentation that their character, ethics, and commitment is sound.
Absolutely, we can incorporate that.
Great idea. Good idea. Okay, further questions or comments? Okay, okay, please proceed.
So quickly, this is essentially what a first year looks like. Main point here for council actions, you all will appoint the board members, you will approve the plan of development, and then you will also receive an operating plan and budget for the DDA. So there's 3 council touch points, all of which need to happen before they can spend any funds. So last note on the CDC formation, I want to mention the formation of the CDC is happening in coordination with the DDA. Puma is assisting the city with that work. A tour was done of a local CDC back in September, and Puma will continue to reconvene interested parties on the CDC beginning early next year.
Okay.
So tonight, seeking direction on the proposed process for the inaugural board appointments for the DDA, any feedback you all have, and then of course any feedback on the CDC as we launch further into that effort to stand and work to stand up the CDC as well.
Further discussion?
So it sounds like we're going to add 3 references for everybody who applies. You got that?
3 references.
Okay.
We're going with the 7 members starting out.
Correct.
Well, that was a recommendation. Was there any?
Recommendation,
Were you all
yep.
okay with that? 7 initially, kind of earmarking 2 for CDC and then 2 for what we don't know. That I think we're going to learn as we get into this that, hey, we need.
Councilmember Horton.
Yeah, I would like consideration, going back to one of the questions, the last slide, that diversity, not only in terms in property owners, but also renters and folks who live in the area, that was missing in the passage of the DDA. And so being very intentional about that recruitment would be brilliant.
Is it the CDC? Is that the other organization?
Yes.
And is that supposed to be more on the nonprofit side, right? Isn't the DDA supposed to be more a little bit more on the business side?
Correct. So by state statute, the DDA has certain things it can do and it can't do. So the DDA is intended to be more focused on economic development, small business support, and infrastructure, all of which drives revenue to support the operations and meeting the goals of the vision and action plan.
Further questions or comments? Councilmember Bergen.
Can you clarify then on the number of people, if they're business owners?
We don't know yet. That's part of the application
correct.
process, so that's, yeah.
Okay, but once you get the applications, so you're not going to say X amount need to be a business owner or?
The mayor appoints and council approves. So that's how this is set up. We're not putting any other strictures on this. If you all want to, you can give us that guidance, but at this point, it is kind of falling to mayor appoints and council approves.
Yeah. So we'll have that debate during the confirmation process.
And here, just quickly, is a quote directly from the Vision and Action Plan about having a right cross-section of representation, property owners, business.
The only other
artists.
question, Laura, was on the council member. Do you want the council member to go through the same process, or do you want to keep the council member separate? That's the only other direction I think we need.
Correct.
I would say separate.
Is that cool? All right, separate.
Okay, so the council member will go through the normal council appointment process. Okay.
Further questions or comments? I'm sorry, Laura, do you have anything else on this?
That concludes.
Okay, very
DDA
well.
update.
We're going to, last item, the Build Up Aurora, we're going to push to January so we can be in chambers at time for 6 o'clock for the meeting start.
Very well. Okay. Study session is adjourned. We will reconvene at 6 o'clock on the floor.